The rematch between Merab and Sean O'Malley has been officially booked for UFC 316, and it's an okay title fight. I understand why it's happening. I don't really hate the fight, but it doesn't excite me in the slightest either. Bantamweight is in a weird place right now because Merab essentially cleared out the division when he was on his way up to obtaining the title. Jose Aldo, Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo, and of course he beat Suga Sean for the bantamweight belt. Now that Merab is champion and has also defeated a major prospect in Umar Nurmagomedov, who does he have left to fight in the division that he hasn't beaten already? Corey Sandhagen, well, he's coming off a loss. Figueiredo, he's coming off a loss as well. These people don't deserve a title shot just yet based on their current strength of schedule. Sean O'Malley or Peter Yan were really the only choices he had for a second title defense, and obviously Sean is the bigger name, so the UFC went with him to headline the card. I know that Sean just lost against Merab, but it's like he was champion at the time, so he would naturally be up there in the conversation of who deserves this title shot. I personally think Peter Yan deserves the title shot way more because he's come back from his losses against Sean and Merab and has since beaten some of the top contenders in the division. That being said, Sean attracts the more casual fans and a mainstream audience, so it's a no-brainer that the company chose him to be a part of the main events of UFC 316. Bantamweight has a very solid talent pool and all of the top 10 ranked fighters are extremely skilled, but there's only one real draw in the division and that's Suga Sean. He's immensely popular online, and even though not everyone who watches him on podcasts is gonna buy a whole pay-per-view to see him fight, he's still more of a draw than the entire bantamweight division combined. I'm so curious about how many pay-per-view buyers Sean is actually pulling in with his name. The UFC has been very hush-hush surrounding facts and figures over the last few years, and with recent reports stating that UFC pay-per-view numbers are down, that makes a lot of sense. Not to discredit Suga Sean at all, but he's definitely more of an entertaining online personality who makes online headlines rather than being a real pay-per-view star. To be fair, I'm sure it's super difficult to convert people who just watch Instagram reels of you to actual paid viewers, especially in this time where online piracy is so rampant. That being said, the UFC pay-per-view model is broken, and it being so inconvenient and costly for the average fan is mostly why people pirate in the first place. Anyway, a lot of the reason why I'm not excited about this Sean vs Merab matchup is because the first fight was a complete shutout. Merab basically won every fucking round and it was a dominating performance. Do we really need to see that again? Maybe Sean will make adjustments, but it's like how much can he actually improve his takedown defense against someone like Merab? I think the rematch will go pretty much exactly the same as last time. Sean might be more aggressive on the feet, looking for a finish early, but it'll only be a matter of time when Merab gets his hands on a takedown. Then he'll probably grind Sean down to a decision win. And still, will be declared by Bruce Buffer, Merab will have another title defense against Peter Yan, and that's how I think it's gonna go. If Sean loses this fight, where should he go from here? I think a move up to 145 makes a whole lot of sense, primarily because of the new bodies he'll be sharing the ring with. Bantamweight is a division with a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but it's featured the same top 10 guys for years now, and it feels like no new prospects are bubbling up to the surface. If Sean moves up to featherweight, there's tons of exciting matchups for him. A Suga Sean vs Josh Emmett fight? Fucking hell, that would be absolute fireworks. And that's just one example. Sean is a popular name, but him cutting so much weight to make bantamweight is ironically weighing him down. In the grand scheme of things, of course. There's just not a whole lot of big names in that division to compete against, and the weight class in general has become a little stale. Let's hope they at least stack UFC 316 with a killer main card, and they don't rely on Sean O'Malley's popularity alone to drive pay-per-view buys, and then fill the event with absolute jabronis like they tried to do with UFC 303. That being said, what do you think about Suga Sean vs Merab? Let me know, and I'll catch you down the road.